happened? Well, listen, since the days of Adam and Eve when they fell, the devil has been attacking fathers ever since, trying to destroy the family, understanding that if he gets the fathers, he gets the families, understanding just like bowling, you hit the king pin and you get all the other pins. And so it's so crucial to understand the strategy of the enemy because it's working. You're seeing it happen right now in the demise of society and the demise of the family as we speak. The center target is the attack on the fathers. It's a war of man, a war on men, a war on manhood. And it's ominous and it's dangerous and it's happening before our very eyes. It's fully focused on this: destroying families, abusing children, killing off legacies. And very interesting fact. We're not talking about my opinion or your opinion. We're talking about facts. These are the facts. That the tragic consequences of fatherlessness have caused this in our society. That a fatherless child is 8 times more likely to go to prison than a child with a father in the home. A fatherless child is 10 times more likely to get involved with drugs and to be a drug addict than where a father is present in a home. And a fatherless child is 5 times more likely to commit suicide than a child that has a father in a home. So fatherlessness is the leading indicator of poverty in a home, not only across the nation, but across the world, every culture. If the father's not in the home, it's a leading indicator of poverty in that home. And Paul the Apostle really called himself a father. This is what he said to the Corinthians. He said, "For though you might have 10,000 instructors in Christ, yet you do not have many fathers. For in Christ I have begotten you through the gospel." What a powerful statement that he has made about being a spiritual father to the Corinthians. Yeah, you might have 10,000 instructors, but you only have one spiritual father. And so the devil's strategy is to take out the fathers so that there is not a multiplication of the gospel, so there's no example, so that there's no continuation of a multi-generational service to the Lord. And it's interesting, as we look at Abraham, many times we see the Bible saying Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all in one breath, because the 3 are known to be the patriarchs of Judaism. And so the takeaway today is we need to stand for fathers. We need to believe God for fathers. We need to have a strategy to counter the enemy. What is the strategy to counter the enemy on the attack of the fathers? You know, we have 40% of homes without fathers today. We have children without dads. What is the strategy? Here's the strategy. The strategy is discipling men. Discipling men, plain and simple. If you make a man a disciple, a follower of Jesus Christ, he's going to become an amazing father, husband, and leader in the community of faith as well as in the community at large. And so we need to think about rescuing. So when we think of rescues, most of the time we think of dogs. And I just recently rescued a dog. Everybody shout rescue. Rescue. And so here is a dog that I just rescued recently. It's a beautiful dog. It's a golden retriever. Hold on there with all you got there. We got dogs. The church has gone to the dogs. Ascent Church has gone to the dogs. We've got dogs everywhere. Dogs in the front. We got dogs in the back. Dogs all around. So anyway, this dog was rescued just 2 weeks ago. Great job getting that leash. The dog ate through its leash in the first service, so we had to get another leash. Yeah, let somebody pet the dog. I mean, the dog will not bite you. Might jump on you, but it won't bite. So my son Gideon was out jogging, and he had our golden doodle, and I think that's good enough because she'll compete against me. Oh, wait, we got to name the dog. We haven't named the dog. We got some names for dogs. Tell us which one of these names you like the most. Okay, we have Sadie, we have Daisy, we have Bella, and we have Zoe. Okay, so just put your hands up when you got a name that you like. Sadie, put your hand up if you like Sadie. Okay, we got a few. We have Bella. We've got quite a few Bellas. And then we have, did I say Daisy? No, I didn't say Daisy yet. Daisy, ooh, quite a lot of Daisy. Look at double hand, doubles twice. Daisy, Daisy's strong. And then Zoe, do we have any Zoes? Okay. This is pretty divided. I say we call the dog Daisy. I like Daisy the best. Pastor Patty is trying to override me and saying Bella. The poor dog's going to be confused. I'm calling her Daisy. She's calling her Bella. And the dog is going to have a split personality. But thank you very much. Give a big hand to Daisy as she exits with Rick. You're great with dogs, man. Just watch that leash because I needed to take her home. Don't let her eat that leash. Then we're done. So, most of the time you think of rescues, you think of dogs. Say he's a rescue. What are you thinking of? A dog, or she, in this case, was a rescue. What happened was, as Gideon was jogging, this dog follows my dog, and Gideon goes back, with this dog with no tag. It's just got a collar, and he goes back to the neighborhood where the thing started chasing him, and he's asking, whose dog is this? Whose dog is this? And nobody knows. We called the police, and the police said, yeah, this we know who this dog is. This dog has been loose many, many times, and the owner is in trouble with the law. They're going to court. They have a court date. I said, well, they got another court date now because I'm reporting him. And he said, well, sir, would you like the dog? So I said, well, the owner's got to give it to me. And so they said, we'll find out. That same day, your dog is coming. Your dog is yours. You name it whatever you want. So anyway, we rescued a dog. But how many of you have rescued dogs? I know there's several of you. Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of you dog rescuers. That's great. Awesome. And it's a great feeling. You know what I mean? Because this dog was running in the street, could have easily been killed. Probably wouldn't have made it to its third birthday. It's 2 years old. It was a dangerous situation. But as great as it is to rescue a dog, there's something even greater to rescue, and that's fathers. And that's families from fatherlessness. And today, that's what I'm wanting to talk to you about. The message today is called Call of Duty. And I just want to speak to dads mainly. I want to talk to fathers. And I know some of you, your kids are grown up, but you're still the parent. You're still the dad. You'll never stop being the dad. It's happened. And, you continue to be the dad. You may have a little different kind of influence, but you still have a big influence, and you can't ever stop that responsibility of being a dad. I want to talk to you about the call of duty, and I'm just telling you, dads need some help. We need to encourage dads. We got a video here we want to show you about how bad it is, how bleak it is for dads. Ghosts and goblins coming before fathers, unbelievable. So anyway, I'm here to be able to elevate Father's Day, to be able to elevate fathers, and to be able to just say, listen, this is a major, major deal to God and to his kingdom. And if we don't have fathers in the home leading according to biblical guidelines, we're never going to have strong churches and in great ministries here in America or in any country for that matter. So we're going to go ahead and grab a hold of our Bibles. Hold your Bibles up over your heads. And if you use your cell phone to read the Bible, grab your cell phone, put it up over your heads, and confess with me. This is my Bible. I am what it says that I am. I have what it says that I have. And I can do what it says that I can do. And I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. All right. So we're going to look today in the book of beginnings. That is the book of Genesis. That's where we're going to start. We're going to look at a tremendous father early on. Who do you think that father might be? Father Abraham, exactly. Even called Father Abraham. In fact, he's the only person in the Bible that's called a friend of God. So, I definitely want to learn from this man, the only one called a friend of God. Here it is, Genesis chapter 13, 1 through 4. It says, so Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had. Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and silver and gold. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. The Bible says that Abram went up from Egypt. Listen, folks, if you're in Egypt, which is a type of what? It's a type of the world. Listen, there's only one direction, up. If you've been living in the world as a dad, you know, you have one direction, and is that up, upward and onward. And many of you, you know, you got saved after you became a dad, and so you got to learn this thing called being a godly father, being a father like Abraham was. And so Abram, when he left Egypt, he went up, the Bible says, but he didn't just go up, he went and he built an altar. See, altars are the place where we meet God. Altars will alter you. It reminds me of a story I heard about this bride-to-be. She was planning her wedding day. Biggest day in a girl's life is the day she gets married. And so she was thinking about what was going to happen at the church, and she just went through the procedure in her mind. She said, I'll alter him. I'll alter him. I'll alter him. And how many of you know that many women get married thinking, I'll alter him? And how many of you women know it doesn't work after you've been married? You tried, but it didn't succeed. Because the reality is, the only person we can really alter or change is ourselves. You know, we want to think that a person has great potential and that they can change and all that kind of stuff. But we should never get married to somebody with that thought in mind, like, I'll alter him. What we should think about is building an altar to God. And it's interesting, Abraham pitched his tent. This was his habit over and over again. He pitched his tent, he built an altar, he worshiped God. And he understood that the altar was a place where his life was altered, where God spoke to him, where God directed him, where God took him where he wanted him to be taken. So here's the father's job description. I just love job descriptions. I think everyone needs to know their job description. Everyone needs to do their job description. You know, I'm fine as long as you're doing your job description, you know, but when you start doing other things other than your job description, then we have problems, right? And so we need to understand, fathers, what our job description is from God. Here it is, Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart. Unfortunately, it says when they're old. It doesn't say when they're young. I'm just telling you that children take some time to get it. I'm just telling you, a lot of times we think that they're spiritual giants when they're spiritual midgets. They're not. Kids are kids, and that's just a fact of life. You cannot just expect a small child to be this spiritual giant. They're spiritual midgets. I know that's the wrong word, little people. They're spiritual little people. I mean, you even have Pastor Patty sitting here in the front row, as spiritual and holy as she is. I'm just telling you, I don't know anyone that's a more perfect person than her in the whole world. I mean, Mother Teresa I didn't know personally. She probably would have been, you know, fighting for number one position with that. But nevertheless, when she was a little girl, she stole from a grocery store. Everybody go, oh, just sucked the wind right out of the room. She stole from a grocery store, and her mother saw her. I think it was a pack of gum. Maybe, you know, it was a Hubba Bubba. I don't know what it was, but nevertheless, she stole some gum or something from the grocery store. You can talk to her afterwards about it. I'm sure she'd be happy to tell you about it. But anyway, her mother said, listen, we're not stealers. We don't steal. We're not thieves. We're going to the manager of the store. And she had to tell the manager what she did. Not good. And she stopped stealing. Now, I have to be careful, though, sometimes with laying money around my own house, you know, but sometimes that's missing. But she's not, at least not stealing from the grocery stores anymore. Amen? All right. Hide your money, husbands. That's a smart thing. So anyway, my son Jordan, I'm not sure where he is right now, but nevertheless, Jordan, we take him to a Christian. Everybody say Christian daycare. We didn't take him to some secular daycare. We took him to a Christian daycare where they teach him about Jesus and not stealing. And what does he do? He takes toys home, stuffs them in his pocket, and then he starts a collection. Everybody say collection. That wasn't one or two. He had an entire collection underneath his bed. Pastor Jordan, there he is in the back, stealing toys from the Christian daycare. Are you kidding me? So we have to understand something, that kids will be kids. Let's all say it together. Kids will be kids. As perfect as this baby is here in the second row, okay? I'm just telling you, you just gotta be ready, right? And be aware. Children are little spiritual midgets. They're not spiritual giants. And so, as a father, it's our job to train up a child in the way they should go. Let's not put that on the mom. That's our job as a man, to be able to train. And what training is showing and telling. It's not just telling, it's showing. And the older a child gets, the more showing and the less telling you have to do. Because they'll come to a place where they won't even do what you say, they will only do what you do. And I'm just telling you from experience, after raising 4 kids, now 2 daughters and 2 dogs. All right, so I know a little something about training and how important it is to invest in training a child. It's very interesting, what the goal is as we growing up our children. It's called E-Day. Does everybody know what E-Day is? E-Day? It's evacuation day for your children. That's the day what you call empty nest, right? Empty nest thing, right? Well, anyway, we've raised 4 kids. We still have 1 at home. And so, what I did with Jordan, because I didn't think Jordan was ever going to leave. I mean, I think it was 24 or 25, something like that. I just said, hey, Jordan, buddy, we love you. Your parents and I have raised you, and we've helped you with college, and we've helped you with this. And hey, Jordan, we're going to start charging you rent. And so he had something like, I don't know, $150 a month in rent. Everybody say it was such a deal. Such a deal, about $150 in rent, Ricky, that was it. And so anyway, he complained, and he thought he was suffering and unjustly and all this, and we didn't love him, or I didn't love him. Patty would never charge him anything. She'd pay him to stay at home, but I'm not doing that. And so anyway, every year we raised the rent until he said, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm getting married, and I'm going to have a wife take care of me. So I don't know how all that worked out with Dawn, but Jordan used to say this. When we tell him to clean the dishes, he'd say, well, I'm going to have a wife one day to do that. That's what he said. And I don't know. I think they're both doing dishes. But nevertheless, we kind of helped him with the E-Day. And now Gideon, he's turning 23. And I said, Gideon, I love you, man. You're awesome. You're an amazing kid. But you're going to start paying rent on your 23rd birthday. So he's doing the whole thing about you don't love me and all that. And I said, well, I do love you enough to be able to help you to get ready for your own family, to be able to help you to have your own life and be able to have your own house. And I'm going to give you a down payment for your house and, stuff like that, but it's going to be your own house. And we have to understand as parents, we want to raise kids that are going to be independent from us, not codependent on us or dependent on us for the rest of their lives. That's not the goal of a parent. The goal of a parent is to be able to have your child one day to be able to have their own family and to be able to raise their kids in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And so God help us to do that. It's interesting, there's one command that God gives to fathers that he doesn't give to mothers. And it's found in the book of Ephesians. We're going to skip a little bit here. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4. And this is it's a unique scripture that's just given to fathers, and I think I know why. It says, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. So fathers are not to exasperate their kids. If I was writing the Bible, and of course I'm not, but if I was writing the Bible, I'd flip that script on that totally. I'd flip it and say, children, do not exasperate your parents, especially your fathers, right? Because, mothers seem to have more patience with kids than fathers do. I mean, you don't have fathers are going, hey, turn up the music, make it louder, and, I'm on the phone, have a party over in my room. And dads just aren't like that. And so, fathers can get exasperated with their children. Sometimes we've told our kids 10 times, take out the garbage, take out the garbage. Please take out the garbage. Will you, pretty please, take out the garbage, or clean your room. And I remember telling Jordan, when he was a teenager, I said, Jordan, the only part of this room that's clean is the ceiling. That's it. That's the ceiling. Everything else is like, junk everywhere. And so, you feel like you're wasting your breath. You feel like your kids have LD, learning disabilities. I mean, they don't hear, they don't listen, every parent has felt that with their kids. Let's just be honest. Fathers are all going like, yeah, I do. I'm still dealing with it. So the Bible says, don't exasperate your children. So in other words, be as patient as possible with your kids and understand that they're not giants of the faith, It's going to take them a while, but they will get it. And many times, reinforcement is the best teacher. You just keep reinforcing the right thing and believe in the best results down the road. Well, train up a child in the way they would go, and they will not depart when they're older. Oh, man. Let's talk about Billy Graham. Billy Graham, the greatest evangelist of all times. He's gone on to his eternal reward. He's in heaven right now. He has actually preached. He's the only person that ever walked this planet that has preached to 1 billion people at one time by satellite television. 1 billion people at one time. And he's literally reached over 1 billion people over his life through all the different crusades and things that he's done. And of course, television. So Billy Graham, he had a son named, what's his name? Franklin. Oh yeah, Franklin. Well, Franklin was not always the perfect preacher's kid. In fact, it was the exact opposite. Franklin had a long time period, not a short time period, but a long time period in his life as a teenager when he was totally rebelling against his dad and the faith of his father. Can you imagine this? You're the greatest evangelist of all times, and you're leading millions to Christ, and your own kids getting drunk as a skunk and just, not into God and not into the Word. So Billy Graham tells a story of a time that he's out with an evangelist buddy of his, and they played golf together. And after they golfed, I guess they went back to his house, and his son Franklin is totally stoned. He's stoned out, drunk, and they talk to him, and Billy just confides with his friend, hey man, we're having struggles with Franklin, and would you pray for my son? And I don't know who that evangelist is, but I'll tell you what, that evangelist's prayers worked, because sometime in his 20s, Franklin became a believer of Jesus on his own accord. He came to the place of actually coming to know Jesus on his own. Franklin Graham said of that night when he was in his 20s in a hotel room, he said, I had an overpowering conviction that I needed to get my life right with God, and I did. Franklin Graham repented. I don't know if it was 10 years, it was a long time. It wasn't a short amount of time that he was far away from God. And today, Billy Graham's ministry is headed up by Franklin Graham, and he's doing an awesome job. Come on, let's put our hands together for fathers who didn't quit. Fathers who didn't say, hey, my son's an alcoholic, my son, has said he has a different belief system than me, my son has just gone a different direction, and I'm just going to accept that and let it go. No, a father that wouldn't stop praying, a father that wouldn't stop believing, a father that wouldn't stop loving, a father that wouldn't stop communicating, a father that wouldn't stop fathering. There you go. And so let's look at the life of really what a father is all about as we look at the model man, Abraham. Number one is a father is a pastor in his own home. A father is a pastor. What is a pastor? A pastor leads, feeds, and intercedes. Those are the three big jobs of a pastor. They lead. How do they lead? They lead by example, and then they feed. They spiritually feed their flock. You got to make sure that they're getting the word, they're getting right direction, they're getting a balance of the word. You're not always preaching on one subject and neglecting, 99 others. But, you're giving a balanced diet to the flock so that they can be strong and they can have everything they need to succeed in their walk with God. They lead, they feed, and they intercede. They're praying. Somebody's in the hospital. We're calling them. We're praying for them. Somebody's hurting. We're calling them. We're praying for them. It happens on a consistent basis. Once a week we get together with our staff, and our staff just prays for needs in the church, people that are, under pressure, in pain, suffering, whatever it may be. And we just do that on a consistent basis because that's what it's all about. Pastoring is leading, feeding, and interceding. So dads, you got to see yourself as the pastor in your home. It's not one of the staff members here that are pastors in your home. You're the pastor of your home. So you're the one that leads, feeds, and intercedes. And then pastor in church, they pastor pastors. They're pastoring the men of the church and ministering to them so that they can be strong leaders. That's very, very important to be able to understand. The best of the best dads are pastors. And then secondly, they're priests. There's a different role of the priest and the pastor, okay? Here it is. There's two roles for the priest that are very, very important. Number one role of the priest is they teach the people, okay? So the priest is there giving the direction that God has given them to the people. And then number two is they offer sacrifices for the people. The priest would be the voice of God to the people. And that's why it's so important that, as fathers, that we're praying and we're asking God, what's the direction for our family? What is it, the direction for our family? Because we have to be able to hear messages from headquarters. What's God saying? I remember when we were 30 years ago getting ready to plant this church, and God was really speaking to me that we were to plant this church in this area. But it took Pastor Patty a year before she came to the realization that that was the right thing. So what did I do? I waited until she had the same peace and the same sense of God's direction as I did, because you don't want to go and start a church and wreck your family, right? Right? Amen. So you got to be in agreement. And so I was just like, God, if you want me to plant this church, you got to speak to her as well. And so she came to, that realization. But I had to hear it first. I had to be the one that was hearing from heaven, listening to God, responding to what God had to say. And then I'm saying, hey, I got to have some people that are going to follow me too, And so here it is. We're going to walk together in cadence. But the father needs to be that spiritual leader. He needs to be hearing from God. What's the direction for your family? I could sit down and talk to every man here. What's God saying to you? What's God saying to you about your family? Is God saying, hey, this thing's hopeless? No, he's never saying that. Is God saying that, hey, there's some things that we need to do to maybe humble ourselves in the way that we act with our family and the way we respond to our wife and to our kids? Probably. Is God saying we need to spend more time with, our children one-on-one or our spouses one-on-one, developing our relationship? Probably. Is God saying that, hey, we need to really read the Bible together, as a family or, with your spouse and spend time together spiritually, uniting? Probably. So as a man, you got to answer that question. What is God saying to our family? And understand something, that as a good father, there's more than just providing a financial inheritance for your kids. I know it'd be great to be able to give your kids a paid-off house, some money in the bank, whatever, maybe a dream home in Florida somewhere. It'd be great to give them a nice inheritance so they have a fantastic start when you pass one day. But there's much, much more than God wants us to do as fathers than give our children financial inheritances. We need to give them a spiritual inheritance. We need to give them the spiritual tools that they can use, the truths that they can use for their lives to be able to succeed in their walk with God. So the priest is teaching the people, leading the people, they're God's voice, to the people, and they also were providing the sacrifices to the people. Now think about a great lesson that Abraham had with his son Isaac. The Bible says he and Isaac woke up early in the morning and they went to Mount Moriah. You guys know the story where God says, hey, go offer up your son, on Mount Moriah. And why do you think they woke up early in the morning? And so that Sarah didn't see what they were doing and stopped the whole operation. How many of you know she would have shut it down if Abraham, where are you going? Oh, we're going to Mount Moriah to offer up our son that we've waited 25 years for or whatever. And, Sarah would have just thrown a tizzy. There's no way that he could have done what God had called him to do if he would have slept in that morning. He said, listen, we're going to get up early. We're going to get off on our donkeys or whatever we're riding, and we're going to go do what God's told us to do. Even though we don't understand it, we know God's always got a plan. And so they get there. They have the fire. They have the wood. They have whatever they're going to do to build that altar. It's all there. But they're missing one thing. What are they missing? The sacrifice. They're missing the sacrifice. And so here the father was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice of his one and only, son that he had between he and Sarah. And so what ends up happening is that as they're going, they built the altar. He's strapped onto the altar. The father's got the knife in his hand. He's ready to plunge the knife into his son's chest, thinking maybe God will resurrect him. I don't know. All of a sudden, the angel says, don't do it. Stop right there. And they see the ram in the thicket. The father is the one that is willing to make the sacrifice because he's there as the priest in the home. And they were willing to do whatever God had called them to do. Abraham was committed to God, to doing whatever God called him to do. Let's read this. Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 through 3. Somebody say, no pain, no gain. It says, sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am. He said, go take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. He just responded and he said, yeah, here I am. That was his response to God. The most incredible sacrifice that any father could ever make. He says, God, here I am. And today, fathers, that's what we need to all be saying to God. God, here I am. Here I am. I'm your man in this family. I'm willing to do whatever you call me to do. I'm willing to make a sacrifice, no matter what that sacrifice might be. And Abraham was pleasing to God. God wants us to understand that if we're going to raise godly offspring, that we have to be that godly example. We have to be the point man in the home. Not just the priest in the home, not just the pastor in the home, but the point man. The point man in the military is very interesting. In the military, the point man is the man that literally runs point on a mission. They clear the way for the rest of the troops. They're the ones that go out and they look for booby traps, they look for ambushes. They're the first guy out, as they're trying to penetrate into new territory. And that guy is a very key guy because, if he can't see the booby traps, if he can't see the ambushes, everybody gets killed. So they've got to really be sharp. They've got to, be aware of what's going on around them. And they've got to be willing to make an ultimate sacrifice because they're the first man out. And God wants us to understand that we're the point man for our family, that we're looking out for ambushes. We're seeing things, we're going to our wife, hey, that's not a good relationship for you. This is not a couple we want to spend time with. This is an unhealthy relationship. This is not a good investment of our time. And we need to really think about doing something different with our money here. We're not being good stewards or whatever it is. That the point man is a man of great understanding, and he's very aware. He's aware of his surroundings. He's aware of what's going on. He's aware of booby traps. He's aware of danger. And that's what a spiritual man is. A father understands the dangers that are around and says, hey, I'm going to give a warning to those around me that they do not fall into danger themselves. So we understand that each one of us, whether we're fathers or mothers or children, we're all sinners in need of a Savior. And I want to close with a story today a story about a father and a son. They had a great relationship. Father worked down for the railroad on a drawbridge, and his job was very simple. He was to raise the drawbridge and lower the drawbridge. When he lowered the drawbridge, it was because there was trains that were coming. When he raised the drawbridge, it was because boats were coming underneath. And so his son was asking him, hey, Dad, can I go with you to work and hang out today? And his dad looked at the schedule and he saw that there was no train scheduled that particular day. He said, sure, son, you go with me and we'll go and hang out together, spend the day. And so they went down, they were enjoying, it was a beautiful day, they were seeing the boats, going underneath them there in the river, and it was lunchtime, they were eating lunch and hanging out. And then all of a sudden the father hears a train coming, and it's not even in the distance, it's close. And he realizes that the train is quickly approaching, that he has to bring that drawbridge down, or the people will plunge into the waters beneath and they'll all die. And so he looks for his son, and his son is caught playing in the gears of that drawbridge. And he knows he doesn't have time to go down and to get his son out of the gears of the drawbridge and to get back up and to be able to bring the lever down to drop the drawbridge. So he has to make a decision. Will he crush his son, or will he let hundreds and hundreds of people die? And he takes his hand and he pulls the lever. He crushes his son. The train comes passing by. There are people laughing. There are people sleeping. There are people reading the paper. There are people waving at him. With tears in his eyes, he says, you have no idea the sacrifice that I have made for you. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes today? Let's understand the sacrifice that God the Father has made for us today. He crushed his son, his one and only son, Jesus Christ, so that we might be saved, so that we would not plunge into the very lake of fire called hell. Today, if you'd like to be able to receive this Father, this Heavenly Father's amazing eternal love, to be able to find forgiveness and be able to find right relationship with him, today at the count of 3, if you'd say, yes, I want to have that forgiveness in my life. I want to be right with God, my Heavenly Father. At the count of 3, would you raise your hand and hold it high? 1, 2, 3. Raise your hand. Yes, God bless you. Yes, God bless you. God bless you. Yes, God bless you. Praise God. On Father's Day, what a day to be able to find your Heavenly Father as your Lord and Savior. Let's pray out loud together. Say, Father in heaven, I ask you, forgive me of my sins. I've sinned against you. I've sinned against others. I sinned against myself. Lord, I ask you to cleanse me from all my unrighteousness. Let me be a child of yours for now and forever. Write my name in the Lamb's Book of Life. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen and amen. Well, let's just give a big hand to all the fathers here today. Fathers, just understand that Father Abraham didn't have perfect kids. You're not going to have perfect kids. We're not going to have perfect families. Billy Graham didn't have a perfect family. Let's be encouraged to be pastors of our homes and priests of our homes and the point men as we're going into spiritual warfare. And we have free hot dogs or hamburgers for you if you prefer a hamburger out here. I got a text. There's only 14 hamburgers left, okay? They had more than half of the hamburgers that we made in the first service, those little pigs. All right, no, I'm just kidding. All right, so and there's a little more than that of the hot dogs. So I know kids are going to be out there too.